I walked into the club and headed straight to the bar. After ordering a drink, I leaned against the counter thinking about all my life decisions. I was a hooker. Not the regular type of hookers that met people in their homes. I worked straight from the floor of Club Mirage, one of the most expensive clubs in the city. I never wanted this life. In fact, I hate this job. But it's the only thing that could at least give me enough money to pay my rent and my mom's hospital bills. Welcome to Love Diary 101. Please subscribe to follow all our latest stories. The story begins. I was one of the most sorted out guys in the club. I already clocked 24 and I was tall, handsome, a flirt too, which got most of the ladies giggling. Rich married women often came to the club to have fun with young hot guys like myself. Their husbands must have little knowledge that they were being cheated on almost every day. But these rich women often pay so well just to have fun with me. The same goes to the pretty girls who were always mesmerized by my handsome features. Tonight wasn't any different. I was perched on a velvet couch at the far end of the VIP section, swirling a glass of wine that probably cost around $20. A young girl in a glittery dress had just tried to flirt with me by asking if I was Tony, sounding as if I was some underground legend. I gave her a wink and let her down gently. She giggled like I'd handed her a diamond. Just a few minutes after she left, another client came by. She was tall, elegant, and obviously rich. She should be around her late 30s or maybe 40. She walked confidently, her eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on me. She strutted over, all hips and high heels, and stood in front of me like I was already hers. "I heard your service is good," she said, her voice smooth like honey dipped in mischief. I took a slow sip of wine, gave her a smile and leaned back. "My service is good," I said coolly. "As long as your money is worth it." She laughed. "Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll make it worth your while. I want you for the night. 1,000, I said without blinking. "It's a deal then," she said without flinching. "Easy money." Or so I thought. Just then the door to the VIP area opened and a guy walked in. At that moment the time slowed down. Even the DJ missed a beat. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a designer suit. His dark hair was neatly styled. He was walking towards my direction. The rich woman glanced over her shoulder to see what caught my attention. His eyes locked on mine as he walked toward us, slow and intentional. Things just got interesting. There are moments in life when everything pauses, when your brain stops processing, and all you can do is stare like a confused puppy. That was me the second this strikingly handsome man walked right up to me and smirked. "Are you Tony?" he asked, his voice deep, smooth, and criminally confident. Now listen, I get that question at least 10 times a night. From drunk girls, lonely housewives, and once even a tipsy bouncer. So by now my response was practically automated. I sighed. "Yes, I'm Tony. What do you want?" He didn't flinch. He just leaned a little closer and said, "I want you." My brain stuttered. Before I could respond, the rich woman beside me, the one who just offered me $1,000 and already mentally owned me, stepped right between us like we were about to fight over a parking spot. "Excuse me?" she snapped, glaring at Mr. Gorgeous like he'd stepped on her designer shoes. "Can't you see I've already booked him?" I looked at her. Then I looked at him. This guy was way too good looking to even be in Club Mirage. He looked like he belonged on a yacht in Monaco, not standing next to my wine-stained sofa. Why was he here? Before I could overthink, he pulled out something from his pocket. A bundle of crisp $100 bills held together by a sleek black money clip. It looked like it had come straight from the bank. He extended it to me casually. "I need him for tonight," he said. The woman gasped, offended and stunned like she'd just been outbid at a luxury auction. She scoffed and stormed off without another word, her heels clicking like gunshots on the marble floor. I looked down at the cash, then back up at him. This was 3 times what the woman had offered. For just one night. "Okay," I muttered, narrowing my eyes. "What do you really want?" He tilted his head, eyes glinting like I'd just asked a joke he liked. "I heard you're good in bed," he said with the same calm people used to comment on the weather. "So I've come to have an experience of that." My eyebrows shot up. I almost laughed. "Who told you I was into men?" I asked, chuckling. He didn't answer. Just smiled, slow and dangerous. Like he knew things I hadn't even admitted to myself. So maybe I had entertained a few curious guys here and there. "Well," I said, pocketing the cash like a professional and keeping my cool, "that's fine. but give me a few minutes. I like to get a little high before I perform. He gave me a lazy nod. Take your time. I stared at him for a moment longer. He was just waiting like a man who always gets what he wants. I grabbed a glass of something strong and lit a cigarette, letting the smoke calm the wild beat of my heart. I could feel his eyes on me the entire time. And then, with the calmness of someone heading to a business meeting, he gestured for me to follow. I did. He booked one of the luxurious VIP bedrooms upstairs. The kind reserved for billionaires, celebrities, and the occasional shady government official. I didn't know what I was walking into. But something told me this night wasn't going to be anything like the others. The moment that bedroom door closed, the air changed again. A low music played inside the bedroom. He was already undoing the buttons on his tailored suit while I stood by the bed, silently debating whether this was just another transaction, or something that had come back to bite me later. But he didn't rush me. He took his time having a drink until he became fully ready for me. I played my part, doing my thing professionally. I'm sure I made him forget everything else but me. It wasn't the first time I'd been with a man, but doing it with him felt new and more enjoyable. I gave him my all, doing all sort of naughty activities. It was already 1 a.m. and by that time he was sprawled out on the bed, snoring softly. I was already sitting on the edge, catching my breath, lighting a cigarette and mentally counting my cash. My eyes glanced on his expensive shoes and then his wristwatch which he had kept on the table in the room. I knew watches. I'd been around enough rich clients to spot something rare when I saw it. This watch was worth more than everything I owned at that point. My heart beat faster as I thought of stealing the wristwatch. I stared at him. He was fast asleep and he wouldn't notice anything. And even if he did, he didn't know where I lived. And if he dared show up at Club Mirage trying to accuse me, people there will always defend me, even if they knew the truth. I swallowed hard as I walked closer to the table. My fingers hovered over the watch and I hesitated, for exactly 3 seconds. Then I took it. I dressed up, tucked the watch inside my pocket, and slipped out of the room as silently as a mouse. Out in the street, the city was halfway asleep. I thought of going straight to a pawn shop. I knew a few places that didn't ask questions. If I played my cards right, I could get 60% of the original value. That was life-changing money. But it was 2 a.m. Every shop was closed. Not even the 24-hour liquor store was open. So I walked home. I locked the door, took off my jacket, and placed the watch on the table. I stared at it. I lit another cigarette, leaned back, and chuckled. What the hell did I just do? I was already feeling guilty for stealing the wristwatch, but another thought came. Mr. Gorgeous is definitely rich and can get another one anytime. I didn't let my emotions get the best of me. I laid back on my bed and slept. The morning sunlight poured into my apartment, brushing across my face until I finally woke up. For a second, I forgot about everything that happened last night. But then I turned and saw the wristwatch still on the table, glinting softly. Just like that, reality came crashing down. And then, like a slap in the chest, the thought of my mother hit me. I sat up quickly. My stomach twisted. I was already 2 days past the hospital payment deadline. The doctors had called me twice. I'd ignored the second call because, what could I say? Sorry, I'm broke and busy entertaining millionaires at night. But now I had enough. Between the money from last night and the potential from that watch, I could finally stop running behind bills. I got up, made a simple breakfast, eggs and toast. I ate in silence, my mind already 10 miles away. I had a quick shower, dressed in something clean but modest, and tucked the cash into an envelope. I left the watch behind, hidden under a stack of old clothes. Didn't want to carry temptation with me. I walked into the hospital and went straight to Dr. Lanson's office. He was a kind man, middle-aged. He always wore that tired smile like he'd seen too much but still chose to keep his profession. Hey Tony. He greeted me, surprised but clearly relieved. You're here. Yeah, I said, handing him the envelope. It's all in there. He opened it, counted quickly, then nodded. Your mom's doing slightly better, he said. We're adjusting her meds. You came at the right time. I thanked him and headed down the hallway, passing familiar nurses who gave me small smiles of sympathy. I hated those smiles. Like they knew my story before I told it. I paused at her door. My hand hovered on the handle. Then I pushed it open. Her room was quiet. A vase of wilted flowers someone forgot to replace was at the corner. And then there she was, propped up slightly on the bed, her face pale but smiling. It cracked something inside me. "Tony?" she said, her voice weak but warm. "Hi, Mum," I replied, walking over. I bent down and hugged her gently. Her arms were thin, fragile, but her embrace was home. "I've missed you," she whispered. "I missed you too, Mum," I said, holding back the lump in my throat. She looked at me, her eyes scanning my face like she was searching for something. "You've lost weight," she said, frowning a little. "I'm fine," I lied smoothly, sitting by her bed. "Work's just been hectic." She smiled proudly. "You still working at that office, right? The one with the good pay?" I nodded. "Yeah, Mum. The pay's great. I even got a bonus last week." She beamed, smiling again. I hated myself for lying. But what could I say? I couldn't tell her the kind of work I was doing. She would disown me for real. She still believed I was the responsible son. The hard-working one. The one who'd made something of himself despite everything. She didn't need to know about my ugly lifestyle. My mother had been ill for the past 7 months. Chronic respiratory issues, complications, and endless meds. She'd get discharged only to be rushed back again. The cycle never ended. And ever since I lost Dad when I was 15, it was just her and me, scraping by and holding on. Life didn't give us a break, so I made one for myself. When jobs didn't pay, I used what I had, my looks, my charm, and my body to get what I wanted. Anything to keep the hospital bills from drowning us. But to her I was just Tony, the good son, the one who made her proud. I sat by her side for a while, holding her hand and listening to her talk about a dream she had. Something about a beach and me bringing her lemonade. I smiled and nodded, playing the role. I sat with her for a few hours, then finally bade her goodbye, promising to be back again whenever I had a free time at work. I shouldn't have come back to the club that night. But I did, because pretending nothing happened was easier than sitting at home, staring at that stupid watch like it could fix my life with one blink. I tucked my shirt in, adjusted my sleeves, and walked in like every other night. Like I didn't steal from a man who looked like he could buy the entire building. The music thumped through the floor. The lights danced across glossy tables. People laughed, drank, flirted. And me? I was just trying to blend in. But it didn't take long. 2 hefty guys walked in like they owned the air in the room. They wore suits and had broad shoulders. They scanned the crowd until their eyes landed on me. I felt my stomach twist. I turned slightly, tried to act cool. Maybe they were looking for someone else. "Tony," one of them called. His voice sounded like a threat wrapped in fake politeness. I didn't answer. The second one came closer. "Don't play smart. Bring out the watch." "What watch?" I asked, trying my best poker face. "The one you stole from our boss." The first one snapped, grabbing my collar. Heads turned. Music still blasted. But suddenly it felt like the entire club had gone silent in my head. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said through clenched teeth. They weren't buying it. And just as the first guy raised his hand like he was about to make a statement with his knuckles, their boss walked in. It was the same rich guy. His face was cold and unreadable, the man I had given my body to for one night and robbed the next morning. My heart started pounding like a drum. He walked up slowly, hands in pockets, calm like a lion who knew the meat wouldn't run far. He stopped right in front of me and tilted his head slightly. "I paid you well," he said calmly. "And you still had the nerve to steal from me?" I tried to open my mouth, but my throat felt dry. "It's not about the money," he continued, his eyes boring into mine. "That watch was a gift. From someone I cared about more than anything in this world." I swallowed. His voice sharpened. "You may think this is a game. You may think you're clever. But let me tell you something." He leaned in close. So close I could feel the expensive cologne on his breath. "You have 24 hours, Tony. Return the watch, or I swear on everything I own, you won't like what happens next." He turned and walked away. The 2 muscle tanks gave me one last hard stare before following him out like shadows. I stood there frozen. Someone at the bar raised an eyebrow at me. A girl laughed in the distance. Life resumed, but my brain didn't. I walked over to the bar and slumped on a stool like my knees had given out. I really messed up. What the hell am I supposed to do now? I muttered to myself. That's when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned to see Malik, my only friend in that club. He was a bartender, older than me by 4 years. He always had a joke or a truth I didn't want to hear. He slid me a glass of water. "You look like a man who just found out karma wears Prada." I sighed. "You saw that?" please. The whole club saw that. He said, chuckling softly. You're lucky they didn't throw you through the window. I stared at him. You think I really took the watch? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he raised an eyebrow and said, Tony, I know you like the back of my palm. The second you walked in looking like a soaked kitten pretending to be a lion, I knew something was off. I blinked. You're scary. He smirked. I'm just observant. There was a pause. Then he leaned closer and whispered, Look, I don't know who that guy is, but trust me, he's dangerous. You don't mess with men like that. I rubbed my forehead. So what? Should I just walk up and give him back his precious watch and say, oops, my bad? Not like that. Malik said, sipping his own drink. You should send it. Just drop it off where he can get it fast. I blinked. Are you sure about this? He nodded. I'm dead serious. Do it tonight. You still have a chance to walk away from this without causing trouble for yourself. I looked down at my shaking hands. Thanks, bro. I said and took a cigarette. I didn't waste time. After that talk with Malik, I headed straight to the bar's reception and gave the girl behind the counter one of my flirty smiles. Hey, I said casually, leaning on the desk. You remember that rich guy from last night? The one who booked the VIP suite. She gave me a look. Tony, you just described half the men who come in here. I sighed. I'm talking about the one with the dark blue tailored suit. He looks rich and very handsome. Her eyes lit up. Oh, I remember now. Do you have his contact details? I asked, trying to sound innocent. She narrowed her eyes. Are you planning to send him a thank you note? I gave a short laugh. Something like that. She rolled her eyes but eventually gave me what I needed. His company name, the suite number, and even the name of the high-rise condo listed under the reservation. I grabbed the info and bolted out of the hotel like my shoes were on fire. I found a trusted delivery company a few blocks away. They didn't ask questions, just raised their eyebrows when I showed them the watch. This piece is worth a fortune. The clerk said, adjusting his glasses. You're sure about shipping this? Yeah. I muttered. No sender details? Nope. Just give it to the person at this address. That's all. He nodded slowly, then added, it'll be $50 for insured delivery. I nearly groaned. That was half the cash I'd budgeted for groceries. But I paid it. Because jail, or whatever that man could do to me, didn't sound like a better option. Once everything was sorted, I stepped out of the delivery place, hands in my pocket, chest feeling a little lighter. By the time I got home, it was past 11 p.m. I threw my jacket over the chair, kicked off my shoes, and collapsed on the bed. But sleep didn't come. I kept thinking about it. The watch. The way the rich guy looked at me with those disappointed eyes. I stared at my ceiling like it had answers. Why did I even do it? He paid me. Handsomely. He didn't treat me badly. He didn't even try to own me like most others did. He just wanted me for a night. And I agreed. Yet I still crossed the line. For what? A temporary thrill? A fast escape from being broke? Now, with the watch gone and my mother's bills paid, all I felt was guilt. And for the first time, I wondered if he would ever come back to the club again. And if he did, would I have the guts to walk up to him and say, I'm sorry? The following day, I was worn out after meeting with a client. All I wanted was a glass of something strong and maybe a cigarette to top it off. From a distance, I saw the rich guy. I haven't even had time to ask for his name. I wondered why he came back, and I hope he already has his watch delivered to him. He was dressed in another custom-tailored suit, neatly styled hair, phone in hand, and that calm, intimidating aura that made the air feel heavier. I took a deep breath and walked over to him. He didn't look up immediately. He just took a sip of his drink, casually scrolling through his phone. Didn't think you'd come back, I said, trying to keep my tone light. He looked up slowly, a small smirk tugging at his lips. And I didn't think you'd still be pretending. I blinked. Pretending? Why would I do that? You're acting like you didn't take the watch. He said. Come on, Tony. I swallowed hard. All right, I said, sliding into the seat across from him. You got me. He raised a brow. I rubbed the back of my neck. I'm not gonna lie to you again. I'm sorry for real. I don't know what came over me that night. There was a pause. Then he leaned back in his seat and crossed one leg over the other like we were in a therapy session. It's fine. But you gotta tell me why you took it. You were paid well. What made you think stealing from me was a good idea? I bit the inside of my cheek and looked down. He had every right to be pissed. But before I answered, I glanced back up at him and asked, Can I at least know your name first, Mr. Gorgeous? He chuckled genuinely. You can call me James. Nice name, I said with a small smile. Thank you, he replied. I inhaled slowly and looked him dead in the eye. Okay, but this isn't the kind of story I usually tell strangers. Well, technically I've seen you naked, so we're a little past strangers, James said, raising a brow. I rolled my eyes and gave a dry laugh. Then I told him everything. I told him about my mom, her illness, the constant hospital visits. I also told him about my dad, how he died when I was 15, and how it had just been me and her since then. I graduated from college. I added, but the jobs I got paid crumbs. And student loans? Man, those things are like parasites. The interest alone could kill you. James was quiet. No judgment in his expression. Just listening. After thinking for a way forward, my friend introduced me to this club. And since then it's been from one client to another. I looked at him. He was calm and composed, still sitting across from me. James stared at me for a moment like he was trying to read through everything. His voice was calm, almost too gentle for a man with such a commanding presence. So that's the reason why you started hooking up with rich women for money? I let out a tired smile. Yeah. The pay was good, no lies. It wasn't a job, not in the traditional sense, but it was survival. I wasn't proud of it, but when it's between your mother getting her meds or you keeping your dignity, you don't hesitate. James sighed and looked away, swirling his drink slowly. I thought maybe the conversation had hit its limit, until he leaned in just a little and said something that caught me completely off guard. What if I gave you enough money to start something for yourself? Or even better, helped you get a job at my father's company? I blinked. Are you serious? I'm serious, he said. I don't like your lifestyle. Not because I'm judging you, but because I can see you're not doing this out of passion. You're doing this out of burden. My lips parted, but I couldn't speak. Was this guy for real? James continued. That watch was a birthday gift from my mom the year she died. I was 23. That was 3 years ago. He paused, his eyes darkening. She had cancer. Everything happened so fast. I couldn't save her, no matter how much money we threw at the doctors. I sat in silence, my throat tight. I know the sadness, he added softly. I know what it means to lose the one person who gave you everything. That's why I don't want you to experience it. Not when it can be prevented. I watched him, this rich, intimidating man with expensive taste and soft eyes. You must be an angel, I said within myself. Then without thinking too hard, I stood up, grabbed his hand and led him to my little private space at the back of the club. A VIP booth I sometimes used when clients wanted privacy. The lights were dim and the air warm with music. We sat close, drank until the night blurred just a bit, and somewhere between our fourth glass and the laughter that followed, the air grew heavier. I leaned closer. He didn't pull away. And what followed next wasn't like last time. It was messy, soft, passionate, filled with quiet whispers and slow touches that felt like we were both trying to memorize each other. It felt even better now that I had opened up to James to tell him about myself. After everything, he gave me a ride home that night. I think I slept so well too. The morning came slowly, warm sunlight creeping into my apartment through the broken blinds. I hadn't slept much. I was halfway through my coffee when my phone buzzed. Meet me later. I've got something for you. It was a message from James. A few hours later, I found myself back at the club. James sat in one of the booths and he smiled the moment he saw me. He handed me a sleek white business card. Come to the office tomorrow, he said. I meant what I said. I stared at the card for a bit too long, then looked up at him. Thank you, James, I said with so much gratitude. The next morning, I got up early enough and took a taxi to the company. The receptionist already knew my name. I was led to one of the offices where I would meet up with James. He was sitting inside his office going through some documents. You came on time, he said, smiling. We sat and we talked. And he didn't make me feel like a charity case. He asked about my interests, my goals. I told him the truth. I didn't know yet, but I was willing to work hard for whatever came. Then James pulled out his phone and said, I've sent something to your account. My phone buzzed. I checked it. My heart nearly stopped. It was a huge transfer. Enough to clear my mom's debts and still have something left for me to breathe again. Next week, you will come back here for an official interview. I want you to meet the board and see where you'll fit in. It's time you stopped surviving and started living. I didn't even know when I leaned forward and pressed a light peck on his cheek. James froze at that point. James blushed like some shy college boy. He looked away with a small laugh. Thank you, James. I muttered awkwardly, standing up and smoothing out my shirt. As I left his office, I couldn't wipe the smile off my face. 1 week later, I got the job. The official letter came through my email early Monday morning. I stared at it like it was a dream. My heart thudded in my chest, and I swear I read the offer at least 5 times. I was no longer a boy from the streets trying to make ends meet. I was now an employee at one of the biggest companies in the city. My joy knew no bounds. From that moment on, I worked like my life depended on it. I arrived early, stayed late, and paid attention to every single detail. I soaked up every lesson, asked questions, and gave my best. And soon enough, people started to notice. Impressive work, Tony. Keep this up, you'll be leading a team in no time. Praises flowed from my supervisors and higher-ups like warm sunlight. A few weeks in, James invited me over to his mansion. The gates alone looked like they had more security than a government building. But what stood out most wasn't the size or the luxury, it was how warmly he welcomed me in. He even introduced me to his father, Mr. Colton, the man behind the empire. "This is the guy I told you about," James said with a grin. His father looked at me, then gave a single nod of approval. That was enough for me. The following week, things shifted between James and me. We weren't just boss and employee anymore. We started texting more. Then came our first official date, a late dinner at an expensive rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. The food was great and the view was beautiful. James was something else entirely. We laughed like old friends, flirted like high school crushes, and by the end of the night we were already planning the next one. By the second month, it happened. We were sitting on his couch, his arm around me, soft music playing in the background, when he turned to me and said, "Tony, I can't deny the fact that I'm in love with you." I blinked. "I'm serious," he said. "You make me feel alive again. You're smart, funny, kind. And I know your past, but I don't care. I just want to be with you. Let's be together." I didn't say a word at first. I just stared at him. This was the same man whose watch I once stole, who could have gotten me arrested, and yet here he was asking to be mine. So I said yes. And just like that, I was dating James Colton. We went on more dates. Private beach resorts, late-night drives, and weekend getaways. Sometimes we stayed in, ordered junk food, and just lay on the couch watching bad movies and teasing each other. And one night, as we watched the stars from his balcony, I opened up. "James," I said quietly, "I just want to say thank you. For everything. For seeing something in me when no one else did. For not judging me for who I was. You gave me something that was more than a job. You literally changed my life within a little amount of time we met." He turned to me, his eyes soft and serious. "I'll always help you, Tony. And I'll stay with you. No matter what." He pulled me into his arms and kissed me passionately. The end. Please give this story a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more stories. Thanks for watching.